Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode in Software Engineering and Salesforce. My name is Brooks Johnson, and this week we're talking about the builder pattern. And this is going to be builder pattern part one. We'll do another one because I think there's a lot of stuff out there to talk about when it comes to the builder pattern. So this week we specifically will be looking at talking about concepts like telescoping constructors. We'll be looking at static factory methods, Fluent APIs, and a Fluent builder. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that I think will be really useful. So take a second, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see everybody in the code. Okay, so one of the first things I just wanted to talk about real quickly, what's the definition of the builder pattern? So if we go over to Wikipedia, we can see, the whole idea about the builder pattern is to separate the construction of an object from its representation. And just like a lot of the definitions, that's kind of opaque, hard to understand until you've done a couple implementations. So as we code up a couple of these, I think you'll see how this can be a really useful one for coding up objects that sometimes have fairly complicated set of parameters, and especially with a lot of optional parameters. So let's switch over to IntelliJ and Illuminated Cloud. And what I've got here is a class called Nutrition Facts. And first, I just want to say that everything here is straight out of the book Effective Java. And Apex really being a subset of Java, there's a lot of useful stuff in there. So we're doing a lot of just chapter one of that book about object creation. And this class, Nutrition Facts, is from Effective Java. But the idea being, right, we've got, what do we have? 6 properties here. And then we've got 1, 2, 3. We have 5 constructors, right? So we're chaining all of these, right? So at a minimum, we need serving size and servings. And then we add in calories, and then fat, then sodium, and then carbohydrates. And we chain all of these constructors together. And this works. And I want to talk about everything we're going to do today with builder patterns you could do from the constructor. What the constructor does, or the builder patterns do, is make this a little bit easier, a little more scalable and elegant to use. If this, I'm going to say, this is not good. This is going to be really hard to maintain. It won't scale well. This will be really easy for developers. The thing with constructors and languages like Apex, when you start to have really long sets of parameters, it's really easy to make a mistake, right? And I don't know, you put a number in calories where you meant it to be fat, right? Or carbohydrates, or you forget what's optional and what's not. So everything we're going to do today is designed to deal with those problems. And that's really what all the design patterns are. They are solutions to known problems, all right? And this is very much a known problem in software engineering. So one of the first things we can do, right, to deal with this is we can create, I just have a couple I built here, right? We can create something we'll call a static factory method. So because, right, a class, an object can have one constructor, or constructor, you can chain them, but right, it has to have the same name as the object we're creating. This lets us use method naming to be a lot more descriptive about what we are creating. So I have a pretty good idea here, right? If I call, nutritionfacts.taco, I'm getting taco nutritional data back, right? If I call nutritionfacts.hamburger, right, that's what I am going to get back. And I don't have to worry about any of these constructors. So this is not a builder pattern. This is just a useful technique. Is, hey, when you're faced with this kind of thing, and you know that maybe 9 times out of 10, like this is what we're going to build, provide these sort of static factory methods as part of your class. As I said, you can really have, you can have as many as you want. There's no limit. And that way you can worry about not blowing up when you have lots of optional parameters going into your object. The next tool that we can use to deal with this, so I have a couple more classes built. So we're going to switch over to Nutrition Facts Fluent. And we're going to talk about the Fluent, you'll hear this referred to as the Fluent interface or the Fluent API. And I think, once again, Martin Fowler It probably came up with the initial name for this, I believe. And what this is, what the whole Fluent interface, Fluent API, and you'll probably hear me using both in the course of this video, it's a facade over our method creation. All right, so what that means, let's just start. We've got our same class, and I don't know, let's just say for the sake of argument, we do have we'll say two mandatory properties. You have to give serving size and serving. So we'll still create a nutrition facts fluent constructor. And that is going to require integer serving size and integer servings, right? And again, don't read too deep into. I am just totally making up numbers, and I thought nutrition facts was a pretty accessible, no matter what background you're in, that this would be an idea that everybody could relate to. I'm sure we've all seen it on a menu of some sort, but nothing here actually has any relation to reality. We're going to say this dot serving size equals serving size, and this dot servings is going to equal servings. Okay, so now we've got a constructor, right? Requires so we can't create a new nutrition facts fluent object without providing those two properties. But we still have 4 optional properties. So a fluent interface is going to you're going to see this pattern. And anytime you see this, you can be pretty sure that this is what's happening. So first we're going to create a method. And the method is going to return, its return type is going to be the same as the object we're in. So this method returns a nutrition facts fluent. I'm going to call it calories. And that's going to need to take an integer again. Calories. And we're going to say this dot calories equals calories. And then we are going to return this. All right, so this is really the whole simple version, but this is really the whole Fluent API going on right here. Methods returning the same type that they are in, right? They're in nutrition facts fluent. It's returning a nutrition facts fluent. And it's returning this. So it is returning the same instance that it's a part of. So essentially, as we build this, we are going to mutate the same object that we are creating. So we can just keep going down. We're just going to go down the list. Public, what do we need? We're going to keep returning nutrition facts fluent. And then we need fat. Integer fat, and then we can say this dot fat equals fat and return this. Okay, then we need sodium, public, nutrition facts fluent, sodium, integer sodium. And we'll say this dot, I'm sure you figured out what's going to happen here. This dot sodium equals sodium, and once again, return this, right? And this is it. This is a Fluent interface right here. So public, nutrition facts fluent. All right, and we're going to switch over. What do we need to build? Carbohydrates now. This dot carbohydrate equals carbohydrate, and we're going to return this. So what this is done, let's first I'm going to compile this, right? Okay, so now that this is compiled, let's hop on over to Anonymous Apex, and we'll say nutrition facts fluent, and we'll just once again we're going to just say it's a taco. And that's going to equal, in fact, we'll close out some older ones from when I was testing. That's going to equal a new nutrition facts fluent. We had to give serving size and serving. So one serving size is, I don't know, 1 ounce serves one person. So 1. And then we're going to say dot carbohydrates 10. And so one of the things I like about this sort of Fluent interface style of development is, my IDE just it helps me chain these together. I know what's going to happen next or what my options are from here. So we'll say calories are 200. Fat is 5. And that's it. We're going to say the others are optional. We don't need them. That builds us a taco. And then we'll do system.debug, and we'll just call taco.toString. All right, let's run that. See what we get back. Debug only. And there you go. So we used the Fluent API, Fluent interface, and some method chaining, I think, to really create a much, much more elegant and scalable way to build the same class without all of those telescoping constructors. It's very easy for the next person to come along and figure out what's optional, what's not. And, you're not limited. These method names can be as descriptive as you want to help guide somebody. In this case, I thought that the name and the property was good enough, but it certainly doesn't have to be. It's only limited by your skill as a craftsman in this industry, right? So that's a Fluent API. And you'll often, sometimes I think, hear it referred to as a builder pattern. I'm going to say it's really not. But it can be confusing. Like, what's a builder? Because a lot of times you'll see a Fluent API kind of layered on top of a builder. And that's what we're going to do next. And I'm going to refer to it as the Fluent builder. The idea kind of being with a builder, though, is you have some class, right, that takes a concrete builder and it knows it uses that concrete builder to build an actual representation of the object. Pardon me. And I realize that can be a little hard to understand. So we're going to build one. So we're going to switch over here to Nutrition Facts Builder. Same thing, stubbed out. We have these exact same properties. And I'm going to do a couple things to set us up here. And then we'll talk about why would we prefer one over the other here. So first I'm going to just say, I'm going to make a public class Nutrition Facts Exception extends exception. All right, and this will come in. Actually, I like to leave those when I do my custom exceptions. I like to leave the curly braces just like that at the top. All right, and now I'm going to create an inner class. Public class, and we're just going to call it builder. Once again, curly braces. And I'm going to come back up here to my outer class, right? My Nutrition Facts Builder class. I'm going to give it a constructor. Nutrition Facts Builder. And it is going to take an instance of this builder class. So we'll say all right, and as we build all of this out, what's going on here will become more and more clear. So to go back to our builder, and you know what, our builder needs these same properties. The builder is going to really, so now we're going to, just like we did before, we're going to implement a Fluent interface, right? So we could do, let's just say we're going to make everything optional now. Nutrition Facts Builder, right? It's going to return itself. We're going to say this dot. Serving size equals serving size, and then return this. And because this is going to get really duplicative, you've already watched me build this exact same thing as with a Fluent interface. I am just on my other screen here. I've got my my GitHub open. So I am just going to grab that out of there and copy and paste this in. That's a lowercase p. Okay, so right now, if you were looking at this and you were like, this seems pointless. Why would I? It's an extra layer of complexity. And you'd be right, I think. The time I tend to reach for this sort of the builder is when I need validation. Because when you're chaining those methods together, right, with the Fluent API style, and you need some sort of validation that maybe relies on a couple different properties, it's pretty hard to do validation that way if you want to make sure that your object was created correctly. So for example, right, we are just going to our class, to show our talk, we're going to add two more properties. I'm going to say it has a private date, start date. Right? Our nutrition facts have a date that for which they are good. They are valid. Private date, expiration date. And you know what? We're going to need those. Same thing. We're going to need them down here. And let's go down. We're going to add and you know what? Just because I'm going to say, no, you don't need to watch me build any more of these simple little Fluent API methods. We'll just turn these up and we'll say public nutrition facts builder.builder start date start date. This dot start date equals start date. Return this. Do one more for our expiration date. Expiration date equals. Turn this. Okay. And so now we've built a start date and an expiration date. And now first we're going to do one more step, because the real thing with when you're doing a builder like this is you need a build method, right? So this is where it's all going to be different. We're going to say public, and now it's going to return the outer class, right? All these other methods return an instance of the inner class. This one's going to return the outer class. Build. And we're going to say return new nutrition facts builder this. All right, because remember, so we built that constructor up here, and that constructor takes an instance of the builder. And then all we have to do, just like any other constructor in the world, we're going to get those properties out of our builder and pass them in like that. Now the next step, and the reason we added these dates in, start date, we also need our end date, right? Builder.expiration date. There we go. Let's say when we create this, we want some validation. We want to say, hey, you can't have a start date without an expiration date. When you're chaining the methods together like that, it gets hard to do that sort of validation of multiple properties. But when we do this sort of a builder pattern, we can, right? Because the last thing we're going to call is build. So if we needed to do additional validation, like we'll say validate dates. All right, and we'll say Alt-Shift-Enter, let IntelliJ help me out. Private, void, validate dates. And we want to make sure we do need a semicolon up there. Okay. So we want to make sure that if the start date is not null, right, then neither is the expiration date. So we'll say if start date equal, not equals null, is not equal to null, right? Not equal null. And this stuff. I'm not using this, so we'll just add expiration date. If the expiration date is null, if those things are true, we're going to throw an error. Provide an expiration date. All right, there we go. Now, let's see if we can compile this. Okay, that should be compiled. Let's open up another anonymous Apex. And let's give it a shot. Nutrition Facts Builder. We're just going to call these Test 1. Give us a little more space here. New Nutrition Facts Builder. That builder. And we'll take care of these red squigglies here in a minute. We can do, we'll say our servings is 1. Gotta use our dots, right? Or that's not going to work. Serving size, say is 10. Calories 500, and just sodium. I don't think we've used sodium that often. 5. And now the last thing we have to do, right, is call build. And now all our red squigglies went away because now we are returning a nutrition facts builder, the outer class. And let's just, well, again, we're going to get that in the console. String. Okay, so looks like that worked, right? Sodium 5, serving size 10. All right, so we did use the builder pattern with the Fluent API, but now let's test it again, and let's test, like I said, we have our validation because those are optional parameters. But if somebody does give us a start date, they must give us an expiration date. Date dot today. And let's run that one again. We should get an exception this time. All right, perfect. Through an exception. Hey, you need to provide an expiration date. So there you go. We looked at a lot today. We looked at, oh, that's going to keep bugging me. We talked about telescoping constructors, static factory methods, a Fluent API, and the Fluent Builder. To me, this is really useful stuff. I hope it is for you too. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you haven't, take a second and hit like and subscribe. And I'll see you in part 2 of this video where we implement yet again another version, the classic Gang of 4 builder pattern.